if I was been white, Elvis would have never been. My tune made Pat Boone a star. I'm sure you know that. He was able to take my tune and become a star. And the white kids wanted to hear wop, babaloo, bop, bam, woo! They wanted to hear me, and so they would still bring me in their house. So they put Pat Boone on top of the bed and they put me in the drawer.
Music in the US has come to evolve from the direct influence of black culture. From the introduction of rock to the smooth jazz that plays in your favorite coffee shop, black culture has influenced it all. However, despite the major contributions by black people to many of what we know today as the classics and household favorite songs, since 1957 only 10 black artists have won a Grammy for the prestigious and highly sought after Album of the Year award. The extent to which black musicians are undervalued and underappreciated goes even further than this specific award show.
The work we put in the communities, you know, the way we give back is legit. It's on the ground. Yeah. You know, it's not so you guys can all just like, you know, double tap.
The roots of American music stretch back to the times of slavery, with genres like jazz and ragtime emerging from African American culture in the South, drawing from African slave songs, rhythms, and hymns. These musical forms have had a profound impact on shaping many popular genres today. Despite their influence, figures of significant influence like Henry Ford and Thomas Edison denounced these newer musical styles influenced by the black community as immoral.
When I came about, everybody thought I was crazy. And they would call the music terrible, you know, and bad.
Fortunately, such remarks failed to impede the rapid spread of African American influenced music. The dismissal of black talent in the music industry is deeply rooted in racism. For instance, Elvis Presley, hailed as one of the most iconic musicians, integrated elements of rockabilly, a subgenre of rock and roll combining country and rock, R&B and blues into his music. However, many of his songs were covers of tracks by black artists like Willie Mae, Big Mama Thornton, and Chuck Berry, or were heavily influenced by the black music scene he frequented. Presley's undeniable talent aside, the issue with his legacy lies in the pattern of white musicians being credited as pioneers while black artists like Otis Blackwell remain overlooked, and their contributions unacknowledged. Black musicians like Blackwell were often imitated by artists like Elvis, who gained fame while the original creators were left in obscurity. As jazz trumpeter Wynton Marsalis aptly pointed out in a Mirror.co.uk article, Elvis rose to prominence because the country wasn't yet prepared to embrace black artists as number one, thus elevating him for his renditions of what black musicians sounded like.
When we first decided to take the gig with Elvis, we had no idea that there would be any racial flack regarding it.
History often presents a selective narrative shaped by the stories we choose to believe or those that have been ingrained through mainstream education. A poignant example lies in the realm of music history, particularly in classic and modern rock. It's a stark reality that many black songwriters from those periods struggled to profit from their creative endeavors, while their white counterparts garnered radio airplay, fame, fortune, and enduring acclaim using the very same compositions. Tragically, numerous black creators passed away in obscurity and poverty, their contributions to the world of music often unrecognized and uncredited. Have you ever heard of Otis Blackwell, Luther Dixon, Richard M. Jones, Lorraine Ellison? Chances are, unless you're steeped in black history or black music knowledge, you haven't. Thornton penned Ball and Chain, a hit for Joplin, and originally recorded Hound Dog, later made famous by Presley in 1952.
By me and Janis Joplin, I wrote this tune called Ball and Chain.
Among her many contributions to the genre, despite gaining some recognition for her rendition of Hound Dog, Thornton saw little to no financial benefit from it. The song's original message of female empowerment faded into the background after Presley's version was released. You ain't nothing but a hound dog, crying all the time. Blackwell crafted hits for Presley including All Shook Up, Don't Be Cruel, and Return to Sender, as well as the future Jerry Lee Lewis hit Great Balls of Fire. Dixon composed 16 Candles, rejuvenated with the release of the film of the same name in '84. Covered by the white trio The Stray Cats on the soundtrack, along with other notable tunes like Boys and Baby It's You, later recorded by the Beatles. Jones and Ellison contributed to Joplin's repertoire with classics like Trouble in Mind and Try Just a Little Bit Harder, respectively. While not singling out Joplin, it's worth noting that the majority of her songs were penned by black songwriters, with a few exceptions like the self-penned Down on Me, Move Over, and Mercedes-Benz. This is just a glimpse into a broader pattern. Ideally, songs would be presented with transparent credit for their origins, but unfortunately many were adjusted to the more palatable for a white audience. Even more disheartening, these alterations often proved successful. Countless songs written by black artists reached #1, purchased and enjoyed by white audiences. It's not because we're black, it's because the system is white. As Ron Westray has said, without a doubt, it was a different era and there's no denying that fact. It was commonplace for record companies to enlist black musicians to write songs, only to provide them with meager compensation while the agents turned around and handed the songs to white musicians. This unjust practice persisted for far too long, shaping the landscape of the music industry, as Akon has also pointed out.
The artist is the last to get paid. He's the brokest one out of everybody. But he's the most famous.
In modern speak, it's referred to as cultural appropriation, the unacknowledged adoption of customs, practices, and ideas of one group of people by members of another and typically more privileged groups of people. Over the years, you see in the 1920s and 1930s, black music was very underground, very benign, marginalized, said Lisa Tomlinson, a cultural critic formerly of York University and now a lecturer and professor at the University of the West Indies. It was seen as sleazy. In a lot of cases, when this music becomes mainstream, it becomes disassociated from black experience and black context. We talk about cultural appropriation. We reduce it to just borrowing or sampling, another reductionist term. Borrowing or sampling sound like nice words because they sound like an equal exchange. But there's a power dynamic embedded in that borrowing. For instance, Bob Marley penned the timeless tune I Shot the Sheriff in 1973, performing it with the Wailers.
I shot the sheriff, but I swear it was in self-defense.
However, it wasn't until '74 that the song soared to #1 when Eric Clapton covered it. Despite Marley's original creation, I Shot the Sheriff is often associated with Clapton, a glaring example of the overshadowing and misattribution prevalent in the music industry. Quote, instead of thinking of Marley or the song as Jamaican or Caribbean, most people think about Eric Clapton, she said. There is a thievery there in the sense that the credit is not given to these pioneers. Another example, Little Richard's Tutti Frutti, made famous by white singer Pat Boone. Credit is due to Clapton, Joplin, the Beatles, and others for making efforts to amplify the voices of their black counterparts. Clapton notably supported Hendrix as a dedicated advocate and friend, while Joplin extended invitations to Thornton to open for her at select gigs. However, despite these efforts, disparities persisted. For instance, in the case of Ball and Chain, the label retained the copyright, resulting in Thornton receiving no royalties when Joplin recorded and released the song years later. As music expert Eric Alper highlights, Thornton lacked the legal and industry support to navigate such challenges. While a few black artists like B.B. King, Hendrix, and Aretha Franklin achieved significant success, many face formidable barriers. Alper's perspective underscores the systemic challenges prevalent in the music industry during that era. Quote, it's really impossible to go back and say, wow, this person really truly ripped it off, because you can't place the context of what happened in 1940 in 2019 and say that was wrong, he continued. You can't change what was going on back then, but what you can change as an artist is the world around you. In some cases, as Tomlinson says, the narrative was manipulated in order to camouflage the record label's behavior. One of Holiday's biggest hits, Strange Fruit, famously uses the haunting metaphor for lynched and hanged black people.
There's strange fruit
The opening verse clearly illustrates the symbolism. Quote, southern trees bear strange fruit, blood on the leaves and blood at the root, black bodies swinging in the southern breeze, strange fruit hanging from the poplar trees. In what can only be described as a complete disconnect from the meaning of the lyrics and an outright dismissal of the gravity of the song, in 2005 the song was remixed by black electronic artist Tricky on a club album, The Verve Remixed. A song that should be untouchable was redone so people could dance along to it at a club.
Black bodies swinging in the sun.
Regrettably, little has changed in the music industry's acknowledgement of black artists' contributions in today's climate. Despite their profound impact on shaping the music we cherish, the talent of black musicians is consistently undervalued and overlooked. American music companies often prioritize the success of white artists, placing additional hurdles in the paths of black musicians striving to achieve their goals. According to a report by the NAACP, barriers persist at every level of the industry, severely restricting opportunities for black individuals. A prime example of this is when, in 2019, black musician Lil Nas X dropped Old Town Road. One of the biggest songs of the year, yet lost out to Bad Guy by Billie Eilish for the Song of the Year and Record of the Year awards.
I'm the bad guy.
How is it possible that despite a record of 19 weeks at #1 on the Billboard chart, he walked away with nothing?
I'm gonna take my horse through the old town road. I'm gonna ride.
To add insult to injury, when Old Town Road had been a chart topper on Billboard's Hot Country Songs chart, it was removed, citing that it had no reason to appear there in the first place. As reported by theboard.org, despite the fact that it was a country song. This directly shows how black artists are stuck into confining categories that prevent them from being able to expand their careers. Another method of American music companies trying to limit their success. FKA Twigs, singer of Cellophane, told The Guardian in 2014, quote, "When I first released music and no one knew what I looked like, I would read comments like, 'I've never heard anything like this before, it's not in a genre.' And then my picture came out 6 months later, now she's an R&B singer." When record labels, music companies, and media label black musicians as urban, R&B, or hip-hop simply because they are black, it restricts them from being able to branch out and find their identity as a musician. This attempt to keep the music industry segregated in a way feels like a slap in the face when albums or songs that fit into so many different categories are pigeonholed into the same 3 boxes. Tyler's acceptance speech for the award encapsulates the complex emotions many black artists experience when their work is categorized narrowly by industry labels. While grateful for recognition, he highlighted the frustration of being confined to categories like rap or urban, which can feel like a subtle form of marginalization.
The people that I think are innovators was the people I looked up to, like the Pharrells, the Kanyes, the Hype Williams, the Dave Chappelles, the Erykah Badu's, the Andre 3000.
Recognizing the pervasive impact of racial bias on the careers of black musicians, it's vital to acknowledge their myriad accomplishments. In spite of formidable challenges, despite facing significant obstacles, black artists have risen to prominence, with figures like Beyoncé, Kendrick Lamar, and Frank Ocean emerging as influential and celebrated icons of the century. Rapper and disgraced music producer Diddy put it best during his pre-Grammy party speech in 2020 when he said, quote, "So right now in this current situation, it's not a revelation. This thing's been going on. It's not just going on in music, it's going on in film, going on in sports, and going on around the world. And for years, we've allowed institutions that have never had our best interests at heart to judge us, and that stops right now." Moreover, a blackballing of black artists is another trend these days, which can be seen in Nicki Minaj's case. Over the years, Nicki Minaj has raised allegations of being blackballed by various entities. In 2019, she criticized the Grammys for overlooking Super Freaky Girl, and in December 2023, she claimed DJ Envy threatened to withhold radio play for her records. On January 14th, the Everybody rapper took to Twitter, hinting at industry giants attempting to undermine her. She tweeted, quote, "Unfollowed 8 accounts today, let's go. I found out something very important today, I'll share shortly." Minaj went on describing a scenario where she alleges being instructed by a prestigious company to create a fake Barb page and sabotage her own reputation. She likened it to real CIA tings. She also seemed to criticize this establishment for creating detractors to tarnish her image. Quote, we can't compete with how great her music is. What can we attack? She still looks gorgeous, we can't compete with her authentic personality in these interviews, Minaj shared. Clones in our labs can't quite capture it. The people we pay to talk badly about her are starting to fear her prophecies. Nicki Minaj, hailed as the queen of rap, has left an indelible mark on the music industry. With millions of records sold and the distinction of being the first female rapper since Lauryn Hill to debut at #1 on the Billboard Top 200, her impact is undeniable. Across genders, she has inspired a generation of artists.
On your own publishing, is that true?
That's absolutely true, and I want to thank Lil Wayne for giving me that opportunity, because even though I may have a buzz and all of that, let's not forget who Wayne is.
Right.
And there's a million people I would have loved to be in my shoes.
However, despite her remarkable success and profound influence, Minaj has yet to claim music's highest honor, a Grammy. This absence of recognition from the prestigious awards ceremony stands as a notable gap in her accolades. Nicki Minaj's absence from the list of Grammy winners is a glaring omission that has left many fans disillusioned with the award ceremony. With her exceptional lyrical prowess and a catalog of songs that could easily be deemed Grammy-worthy, her failure to secure the prestigious accolade is puzzling to many. Her ongoing feud with the Grammys only exacerbates the situation. In fact, just last year, Minaj called out the awards for the category she was expected to be considered for, further fueling the controversy surrounding her Grammy snub. The legendary strife between Minaj and the Grammys is well documented. She has been vocal about feeling blackballed by the institution, and the Recording Academy's silence on the matter only adds credence to her claims. While Minaj's talent and influence are undeniable, there is one prevailing theory from music history that most believe is the primary reason she has never clinched a Grammy win. While it's difficult to definitively pinpoint why Nicki Minaj has never secured a Grammy, many point to her 2012 Grammy performance as a significant factor. During the 54th annual ceremony, Minaj performed Roman Holiday, which featured an exorcism-themed display. This performance stirred controversy, particularly coming shortly after the passing of Whitney Houston. Nicki Minaj revealed that Grammy producers urged her to cancel her performance, citing Whitney Houston's recent passing and the anticipated controversy. Ken Ehrlich, in particular, was reportedly in favor of cancellation. As anticipated, the performance sparked significant controversy, drawing criticism from the Catholic League and disgruntled comments from viewers. The Washington Post even speculated whether the performance had damaged Minaj's career. Grammy producers later described the performance as a disappointment during discussions about it. Nicki Minaj stayed quiet about the situation with the Grammys for quite a while. However, she decided years later that it was time to shed light on the issue. This came after label mate Ariana Grande experienced issues with the same Grammy producer and decided to call him out. First, Nicki responded to a fan on Twitter who wondered why she had never won a Grammy. Then the multi-talented rapper addressed it on an episode of Queen Radio. Nicki went on to say that she was bullied by the Grammys and by Ken in particular. She also explained why she didn't want to call off the Grammy performance. Minaj reportedly stated she worked so hard for that moment and her fans were excited. Nicki didn't want to disappoint her fans by canceling the performance last minute. In 2022, Nicki Minaj found herself at the center of Grammy controversy once again when her track Super Freaky Girl soared to #1 on the Billboard charts. However, the celebration was short-lived as the song was slotted into the pop category instead of rap, sparking accusations of rigging from Minaj. She pointed to the consideration of Latto's big energy for rap categories as evidence of unfair treatment. Minaj's mention of Latto in the Grammy dispute stirred tension between the two artists. Latto voiced frustration, feeling overshadowed by the drama surrounding the situation, which hindered her ability to fully relish her own success. Despite Super Freaky Girl dominating the charts, it received no Grammy nominations for the 2023 ceremony, while Latto garnered nods for Best New Artist and Best Melodic Rap Performance for Big Energy. While there's optimism regarding Minaj's eventual Grammy victory, her extensive accomplishments suggest that a Grammy might no longer be her primary focus. Nonetheless, it would be disappointing if such a significant figure in music were to retire without a single Grammy to her name. Notably, changes in Grammy leadership with Ken Ehrlich no longer involved offer potential for future adjustments. The Grammy nomination signaled more than a mere oversight. It conveyed a deliberate message, seemingly endorsed by the hip-hop community, that Nicki Minaj isn't welcome here. By withholding rightful nominations from Minaj, they perpetuate her lack of Grammy recognition, casting a shadow on her legacy. The committee's choices in awarding and nominating female rappers appear to be more about slighting Minaj than recognizing true talent and impact. It's not solely about the measurable metrics of her music's influence or commercial success. It goes deeper than that. Fans also believe that the industry has never been good with black musicians. One person wrote, quote, "It's not the music industry alone, it's Hollywood, TV shows, advertising, e-commerce, real estate. Every industry is hella stagnating right now." Another one added, quote, "The human aspect of music is gone. Prime example, I took my song to a Glorilla concert last year. We waited 4+ hours for her to come out. She performed 4 songs in under 10 minutes and then immediately disappeared off stage. That was it. That was the Glorilla concert. It's all about the money. It's all about internet money right now. All of these artists are just copy and paste, no one wants to stand out. Just having the check and the rented Lambo is their form of success." The Grammy committee's efforts to cleanse themselves by portraying Nicki as vain ultimately fell flat. Only those easily swayed by superficial narratives like the fools and trolls lurking in dusty blog comments bought into such a mundane cover-up. These individuals, largely influenced by urban media, radio, and certain black music artists, are nothing more than Instagram users who jumped on a trendy hate bandwagon in 2017. Hip-hop might be headed in the same direction as jazz, swing, country, rock and roll, and techno. It's becoming mainstream in spite of black suffering. When people say, quote, "It doesn't matter, music is music," they are erasing and disregarding the people in favor of the culture. When the black people in black music get erased, so does empathy toward their struggles.